fight, you lose off the liver shot. It can come back.
Schaub runs into the jockey, and it's over. Did the hype train just pick up speed? Because it didn't derail.
The latest fight companion on the Joe Rogan podcast turned into something interesting because the group ended up spending a lot of time talking about one fighter who, according to them, should be a much bigger deal right now, Michael Venom Page. And what made the conversation compelling wasn't just that they praised him. Joe Rogan, Brendan Schaub, Eddie Bravo, and Joey Diaz all seem to agree on the same thing. MVP is a legitimate star, but the UFC isn't treating him like one. That's rather strange because in combat sports, the goal is simple. If you have someone exciting, you build around them. You give them the right opponents. You create moments people want to see again. According to the Fight Companion crew, that isn't happening.
Christian Leroy Duncan's a wicked striker.
They kind of fucked MVP over a little bit, yeah?
Well, I mean, a little bit. First of all, they're fucking him over because he's fighting a guy who was a teammate.
Super close teammate. Doesn't make a ton of sense. Doesn't move him up in the rankings. But then he's also on his last fight on his contract.
Yeah. Well, you know, the kid's good, but Michael Venom Page is something very unique, and most people just can't handle him.
Yeah, but he's unique because when you fight him, you can't mimic his style. So the first time you see it, it's when it's live with the lights on and Bruce Buffer's fucking shouting. But now that your training partner for years knows that element of surprise is gone, it really fucks him.
Right, but it's also like, how many times did Venom Page piece that dude up?
True, but apparently he was choking MVP out left and right.
I bet, right?
That's what he said. His anacondas and darces are really good.
Oh, interesting.
So that's where it gets weird.
Right, he might have a grappling advantage.
But if I'm MVP, I'm like, bro, there's so many guys on the roster. You can't fucking toss me anybody else. A guy I trained with nonstop. MVP's fight is interesting because it's a training partner.
Oh, that's what you were just talking about?
Yeah, that we're talking about.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jamie.
But he's fighting a training partner.
Like super close training partner.
Like, why would they do that? Like, you would just stay away from that shit.
He's been kind of outspoken too about fighter pay and them kind of screwing him over. So, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had...
so they're going to discipline.
Rogan's argument was simple. The reason Page has been able to produce highlight knockouts for years is because nobody can really prepare for him properly. You can't bring in a training partner who moves exactly like that. You can watch tape, but until you stand across from him in the cage, you don't fully understand the timing. That mystery is his weapon, which is why Rogan and the others were so annoyed about the fight that recently happened.
Oh, this is crazy bad. That's a crazy bad fight.
Is that it? It's over?
That's it.
And that's not on Michael Venom Page or Sam. That's on the matchmakers.
That's a crazy matchup.
Call your boy.
It's literally the last guy you want to fight a style like that is someone who understands it. This is the last thing
What do
you
you think
want.
was gonna happen?
Don't you want excitement?
You think they're going to go for broke? They know each other.
Don't you want as real as
What
it
if, like,
gets?
the guy, what if the guy in the brainstorming
Don't you want just
room,
bleed?
what if the guy in the Paramount brainstorming room is like, how about we make friends fight? They're like, yeah, that'll be fucking great.
That's hilarious. I bet it was one of the things where there's not a lot of guys lining up to take that fight because he makes you look so stupid. But this dude is like, I've been in there with him 100 rounds. I know how to fight it.
Yeah,
Big advantage, man.
Huge.
Giant
It's the number one
advantage. Knowing what that distance and speed
Man,
is
I just
like.
have a hard time believing that. Like those motherfuckers in the top 10, the 185 and 170 are dogs.
They
don't
are,
give a
but
fuck, especially if they can grapple.
They
They're
don't
like, I'll
want,
do it.
but look, the line to the top is very short right now.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, nobody wants to slip and start from scratch again.
Maybe.
And there's not even, like, look at Imavov. Everybody thought he was going to get a title shot.
I did.
Right? But look, ladies and gentlemen, there is no winner. We all... Michael Venom Page.
Hell yeah.
That does nothing for him.
Yeah, nothing.
It does nothing.
I think it's bad for him.
100%?
Yeah, it's not good.
Now
But-
you're damaged goods. Now
Yeah.
you're going into your contract.
The
being
guy
like,
he's telling
listen,
me this, I told you I wasn't going to knock you out,
But
dog.
also, here's the problem. Now people know how to fight him. People are going to watch that and go, oh, just don't engage. Make him engage.
Maybe he didn't want the fight and said, you know what? They're going to make me take this fight and we're just going to play it and I'm not going to hurt him. Maybe.
No way.
Maybe. Look at their hugging.
That dude was
He's
just
like,
good.
I had told you I was going to hit you.
The guy is good.
When you put a fighter like MVP against someone who already knows his timing, his feints, his rhythm, and his habits, you remove the biggest advantage he has. The result was exactly what Rogan predicted. A weird fight where neither man really wanted to engage. Instead of one of those viral MVP moments where he blitzes someone and the crowd loses its mind, it turned into what Rogan bluntly called a stinker. And when that happens on a big stage like the UFC, it creates the impression that the fighter just isn't delivering. But Rogan's point was that the situation was almost designed to fail. And Brendan Schaub had been saying something similar on his own show days earlier.
If you don't know shit about shit, Michael Venom Page fighting is always going to be...
He's must-see TV.
Yeah.
I've
loved him for years.
Me too. He's a special dude, and he's one of the rare Bellator guys that come over, and he's having success. Not the same success he had in Bellator, but his fighting style is so hard to adapt to, and you can't bring in training partners to adapt to his style. So you get one shot at beating him, and it's when it counts. So it's very, very difficult. The one guy who's kind of figuring out is Michael Venom Page because of his style.
Out of all of them.
Yeah, especially out of those guys. He's most successful. And this is why, and I dig it with how Michael Venom Page is kind of speaking out, being like, talking about fighter pay, which I love. Just talking about how kind of the UFC kind of screwed me over. Like this fight that they gave him, he's like, it doesn't do much for me. It's a big fight for the other dude, but for me, it kind of sucks. Not to mention the reason that they're kind of disciplining Michael Venom Page for whatever reason. They went, oh, that's your close training partner that you've used for multiple camps? Fight him. Hold up. You're telling me there's nobody else on this fucking roster? How many guys do they have? You have to give him the one guy that he's trained with a bunch of times to get ready for these other fights? You know how fucked up that is? The other thing is this how you know they're mad at Michael Venom Page? Whenever, this is generally the case, there's some exceptions. Whenever two fighters know each other well, the fight doesn't go good. Yeah. Like when I fought Arlovsky, we were training partners. At Jackson's, we trained a ton together. I knew what he was good at. He knew what I was good at. And we would counter those, meaning we'd kind of nullify those out. I knew what he was really good at. He knew what I was good at. So we'd nullify those out. The sparring wasn't that exciting, but he wasn't in the UFC at the time. He was fighting other leagues, so we were training together a bunch. And then when he first signed back with the UFC, they called me. I'm like, dude, this doesn't make sense.
Whether that's true or not, the situation puts Page in a tricky spot because he was reportedly heading into the last fight of his contract. That creates pressure. You're trying to negotiate your future while also proving you belong in the promotion's biggest fights. And that is where the discussion connects to something even bigger. Recently, Ronda Rousey has been very vocal about how the UFC handles fighters. In the lead up to a fight with Gina Carano, Rousey spoke about what she sees as long-standing problems with fighter management and promotion politics. The implication from both conversations is similar. The UFC is incredible at building stars when everything aligns. But when a fighter doesn't perfectly fit with the promotion's plans, things can get complicated very quickly.
Could I ask, why did it not work out with the UFC? You were so synonymous with the UFC for so long, and so to see you associated with another MMA brand at this point is surreal in its own right. And so could you tell us why it did not work out and why you feel the way you feel about the landscape?
Well, I knew that we could promote this on our own and probably be the most lucrative way to go about it for us, but I have such love and respect for Dana that I wanted to bring this to him first. And I said, I know I can do this on my own, but I would rather fight for you than to fight for me. Just make it make sense for me. And originally we were going to do it New Year's, and it was going to be under the last fight under the pay-per-view model, and he offered me the best pay-per-view structure ever, and I was so grateful. But then, Gina said she needed more time to get in the best shape possible, and that she wanted me to fight the best version of herself. And I think that was fate. It was meant to be. It was meant to push us onto the other side. And once they've moved into the streaming model, it's just not about putting on the best fights possible anymore. You know, Dana is legally beholden to the shareholders and to maximize shareholder value. And unfortunately, now that they've taken the reins from the company away from him, it's barely recognizable now.
Michael Venom Page might be the latest example of that tension. You have a fighter with undeniable flair, a highlight reel history, and a style that people instantly recognize. Yet instead of the kind of matchups that amplify that uniqueness, he's ended up in situations that dull it. In combat sports, talent alone isn't enough. You need the right fights, the right timing, and the right spotlight. Without that, even a star can start to fade into the background. And according to Rogan, Schaub, and Eddie Bravo, that would be a huge waste.